All right, guys. This is my last day in Madison. I'm packing up in my hotel room. You can see I got all my swag, all the stuff I bought. I need to pack. My hotel is trashed. I'm the last one here. 3 of us staying here. What an amazing weekend. Oh my gosh. First Nats ever. It couldn't have gone any better. I got amazing interviews with modelers and vendors. I had plenty of drinks and I had met plenty of friends, and I got way too much content, mainly because Jeff Hearn kept pimping me out. I had a list of a few vendors and some modelers, and I thought, oh, that'll be long enough for a video. And boom, Jeff Hearn just kept going and going and going. So thanks to anybody and everybody who was willing to talk to me and let me film their model or their products and what they were vending and putting out in the world. This was a blast. I can't even believe it. There's not a drop of dopamine left in my brain right now. Okay, I have no dopamine, and I spent enough money to buy a used car this weekend, and I don't regret one bit of it. I tell you what, I don't regret one bit of it. And the hardest part is leaving. You're leaving model camp. Summer's over. Parents came, picked you up. I'll see you again next year. Yeah, so I couldn't be happier. And enough rambling about the weekend. Here's the footage I got, so check it out and experience it yourself. This year's IPMS Nationals was held at the beautiful Monona Terrace, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright in Madison, Wisconsin. Jeff Hearn and the Mad City Modelers did an amazing job with this venue. All the hotels were super close. They acquired 3 different floors to accommodate the Nationals. And as you can see here on the main floor is we have the competition rooms. So you have 2 massive rooms, one dedicated to ships, aircraft, auto, sci-fi, dioramas. And then we have another room that was dedicated to the juniors, figures, and armor. Talking to Jeff, there's something like more than 2,600 models entered into competition alone. And I was absolutely blown away by the talent on display here that was brought from around the country and the world. All right, guys, I am here with Frank Donati, the one and only president of IPMS Canada. How are you doing, Frank?
I'm doing great, Austin. Good to see you.
Good to see you. And what'd you bring to Nationals this year?
I'm an armor guy predominantly, so I brought armor. So we're like, for example, this is my latest, most recent build, finished it about a week ago. TACOM King Tiger full interior kit that I did in a rather unique ammo pattern. Mm-hmm. This was documented in the kit. So this is a dark yellow on chocolate brown, and then there's a hard-edged white camo on it. It was really fun to do. I think it turned out really good. And ever since I went to AMPS, I see the importance of a good base. So this is my beginning of my base building journey.
Yeah, I love the crater mark. I love the crater holes you put in there. Those are really cool.
Yeah, I call them Pluths because Ben Pluth had this problem with his leg. So I started making fun of him saying he had a crater. So now I just call him Pluths to irritate him.
You are so kind. You are so kind and PC for being a president of an organization.
I like to give. I have lots of love to give.
I'm glad you do. I want to point out this white camo. I really love what you did where you can see where it's been on the field, where it's been pulled up or it's been chipped off. Like, that was applied just within the last few months or so.
Yeah, and that's AK chipping medium was sprayed over the 2 camo coats, and then the white went on. Great product. It doesn't pull off, and it actually kind of splooged a bit out of the airbrush, so it actually added to the weathering a bit because it gave a bit of an inconsistent satin flat to the kit. So I actually left it on a lot. But yeah, that's what I wanted, was that a bit of wear. Razor cut the fenders. I gave it some battle damage. My nickname for it is check engine light came on.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so great TACOM interior kit. It's kit number 2047 if anyone's interested in looking into it.
Okay.
And a base is important because the kit next to it, this is also one of mine, and you can see when I pre-base, right, it looks a little more plain, but this is to me a Sturm Tiger. So I am the guy that will enter 2 kits in the same category and defeat myself, but this,
you're an overachiever.
I love this kit because this is to me a rubber band tracks.
Yeah.
So one of my odysseys is you can make rubber band look good, and this is an example to me as rubber bands. You can get it to sit, and
yeah, you did a good job.
And I love Sturmies. I like anything that's brutal. Joseph Stalin's, things like that. The big ugly beast. Yeah.
Those are just for hammering.
Yeah. And then I need to come back with a bag and just kind of drag it across the competition so I do better.
Yeah, I'm really happy you're the president of the whole national organization, bud.
Yeah.
There's no conflict of interest there.
No.
Well, thank you, Frank. These look amazing, and I hope you don't rig the ballots for yourself.
No, ain't gonna happen. It's good to see you too,
Thanks,
Austin.
Frank. Okay, guys, I'm here with Bob Bear, the voice of Bob, Charlotte Scale Modelers.
Yeah.
Out of North Carolina.
Yep.
Right on. And what'd you bring to Nationals this year, Bob?
Well, I brought a few, but this is the one that I probably spent the most time with, definitely. This is the Proteus from the movie Fantastic Voyage back long ago. The first question that people usually ask is Raquel in there? No. But I put this together. It took me about 9 months. Did a full interior, completely wiped, all the detail off, replaced with photo etch, backlit with dials and switches and so forth, and even altered the rear, which originally that window that is actually prominent in the movie was just a solid chunk of plastic. So I opened that up, put some windows in there. And then you can also see, you have to look way inside there. You can see the rest of the where she was working back there with the laser.
That is phenomenal. And your lighting is so it's cast in just the right way to where it looks like, I don't know how to say this, but it's lighting up everything, but it's not saturating the space.
Right. One of the things that I just put together on this was a dimmer.
Okay.
So I'm powering it with 9 volts, but then I can dim everything down. And actually, that thing's been on for like over 24 hours already, and it's still full. But you can bring everything down or bring it up or turn it off and on, just with the little remote that I have.
And not to make you feel old.
No.
But this is the movie where they go inside the person, right?
Right. They shrink them down. And this base is a resin cast base that you can purchase. And I wish I could remember his name, and he's going to hate me if he sees this. That is just a solid resin, and I didn't know what to do with it because I've never done this. I would love to have had it lit up, but I just kind of made it just something to set it on, just to kind of set it. I wanted to have a hypo sitting here, and then my brother actually thought of have a little speck next to it, like here is it all the way down.
That would be cool.
I know. I'm like, oh, thanks for telling me that right when I get here.
Well, you could get a hold. I bet somebody could 3D print that, and you can add that on.
That's a great idea.
That would be cool.
Oh, that is awesome.
Because people will put little figures and they're like, oh, to skip whatever. Yeah, that would be sick.
Yeah, I like that idea. So, this is my favorite entry, I'd say right now.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And probably the thing I'm most proud of at this moment.
Oh, you should be, because that's impressive, especially with all the lighting and stuff and all the ideas you took into it to improve it. That really rules, man.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you, Bob.
You bet.
All right, guys, I'm here with Logan Hansen from Midwest Scale Models. Logan, what'd you bring to NAS this year?
This is one of the few things I brought. It's a 1965 Ford F-250 demolition derby truck. It's based on a 1-to-1 that a guy in Grantsburg, Wisconsin built around 2013. It's still running around now. It's painted black, but it's pretty wild truck. It's been tough to kill. It's gone through a lot of changes, but this is kind of how it looked around 2016-ish. It started with the Mobius F-250 kit. Basically, the only kit parts I used were the basic body panels, the outside of the cab floor, the hood, the bed floor, and then the frame. The front suspension's completely scratch built. Pretty much everything in the interior is the shifter, the pedals, the battery box, transmission cooler. It's got a 440 Chrysler in it, 727 transmission, which the real truck had. It's got fuel cell in the back, a water overflow tank, which was actually ran off the heater ports for the engine to try to keep a little more water in it and keep it cool, which isn't easy to do with the big block.
Yeah.
And I just took a lighter and heated it up, kind of bent everything in to get it started. And then I took a probably half a dozen or so different Dremel tools and carved out all the dents and damage.
So that's the kit plastic?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yep, there's no metal on this one. I have an Imperial that I built that has a little bit of metal on the floor pan, but that's all
That is
all plastic
impressive.
too. It's about 300 hours into that, 275 or so hours.
I don't doubt it. And your interior is wild, and I love I'm assuming that's duct tape on the steering wheel there or something?
Yeah, it keeps you from getting your hands through there or wrapping your thumbs around the steering wheel. A lot of guys break their thumbs or break their wrists by doing that. So if you put duct tape on it, it keeps your hands out of there.
Yeah, just the detail and the accuracy, like that little fact about, oh, you duct tape the steering wheel and the amount of effort you put into that, man, that is so impressive.
Yeah, it takes a long time, but it's worth it. It's kind of it's an oddball, weird subject. A lot of people just kind of look over it on the tables, but it's a passion project.
I definitely enjoy the hoopties and the beaters. I mean, seeing a nice glossed up car is one thing, but seeing the effort people put into something like this is, and being like an armor guy, of course, you get to do all the fun things that you do to an armor. And then we have photo evidence.
And the bottom's all rusty and dirty and beat up. The front suspension and steering linkage are completely scratch built. There's about 165 pieces in the front suspension.
Holy cow, man. That is impressive, dude. And I gotta say, I'm gonna get on you a little bit here. I'm gonna give you a little bit of crap.
All right.
In your Facebook message to me, you said, when you're done interviewing the good modelers, you can interview me. Well, I guess now I have to go. Now that I'm done interviewing the good modeler, I can go interview everybody else.
Well, a lot of the time we're our own worst critics, and I know there's little things with it that I'm not terribly happy with, but overall it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. And to somebody like me who, you're going to know way more about this subject than I am, so you're definitely going to be way more critical. To me, I'm just blown away that all the little intricate detail you did to this is just incredible.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and like I said, he's got a bit of a brag book, so we got some photographic evidence, and
and you can see
that really makes it something else.
You can kind of see more of what's in the interior in the pictures here.
Oh yeah.
And this is how it looks now. It's a little more Spartan now. It doesn't have the transmission cooler and stuff's laid out a little different now.
So this is the 1-to-1. This is the real. And this is the model?
Yep.
That is impressive, my man. Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot into it. That's the pedal setup. It's all scratch built. It's the interior ribbing and stuff because everything's stripped out of the interior of a derby car. But it turned out pretty good.
That's some crazy talent and effort.
That's how it was before it was painted green.
Yep.
But that's how I did all the rust and stuff, just some salt chipping.
Mm-hmm.
I seen that in Fine Scale Modeler when I was like 12 years old.
Oh, me too.
They did it on Japanese airplanes.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I've
done that to a couple zero cowlings in my day.
Yep, it works pretty darn good.
That is, man.
It's a whole lot of improvisation, figuring out how you can make it how you need it to be. So
yeah, that is really impressive, man. And this is one of those moments where I'm glad we didn't miss this opportunity to talk.
Yeah.
To see a model up close like that, to have that privilege and that opportunity, that's something special. So good work, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing it because a lot of people just kind of overlook the stuff on the table. So because it's not a
and it's your model, so you can pick it up.
Yeah, it's not a flashy F1 car, so a lot of people just kind of walk past it. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Logan. Good luck this weekend.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, everybody. I'm here with Brandon Jacobs from Houston Armor Club and Houston IPMS. What'd you bring to Nats this year?
Austin, it was funny. We were just talking about Winter Blitz, the all armor show that I helped put on. And here we are at Nationals in Madison, Wisconsin with a abandoned shrimp boat. So definitely not armor, but what I wanted to do was take a crack at replicating a shrimp boat as it would appear maybe on the Texas or Louisiana coast. The intention was to make it such that, this thing is not going anywhere, right? It's not like stuck for the day and they're going to get it later. It's done. It's going to rot right where it is. To start off the project, I used the venerable, I should say, the old vintage Lindbergh kit.
Yeah.
Right. And when I started, I was like, well, how old is this kid, right? You see him sometimes at shows. And I went to Scale Mates to find out how old the kit was, and it was actually first molded in 1958.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And I didn't use a kit from 1958. I found a Reeboks 2009 version in a show, but it's pretty old kit. I'm fortunate that I was able to make it abandoned, and so therefore I was able to leave off a few detail parts that if I were to use those detail parts, the Lindbergh pieces wouldn't have qualified. It just was a little bit chunky. The box, it's a box scale kit. It's 1/60th.
Yeah.
So you're not going to really find a whole lot of 1/60th scale details.
So, and how do we pull off the graffiti here? What was the trick there?
Graffiti, and what I wanted to do was, again, it's abandoned, and maybe some tag artists have come out and over time done graffiti here and there. I relied on AK Interactive Decals, graffiti decal set, and it's just basically almost used the entire set. Real good, decals went down real good. But what I did was put them on over time. Like I would put a decal on here or there and do some oil weathering, and then go back and later put some on, because I wanted to try to make them look some older, some newer, some very faded, and did also use like light sandpaper on some to really fade them out and blend them in. I even put a tag on the back, right?
It definitely looks like a hooligan hangout.
Right,
Somewhere me and my friends, may have rolled one up once or twice.
Yeah, definitely. There's no telling what goes on in a vacant shrimp in the Texas backwaters. Even put one on the roof. I wasn't sure about that one on the roof.
Oh, okay.
So I faded it out really good. Because the sun would hit that, right? The sun would definitely beat a tag down.
That's fantastic. And I noticed we got water here in the hold of the ship, which I think is a really, really awesome touch you did here. How'd you pull that off?
Okay, so the kit does come with open holes, right? And I wanted to show, a boat like this, first of all, even not abandoned would have water in it because it's a catch hole, but obviously up against the shore, it's now rotting. It's now filled with water. I had to take styrene and dike off each one of those holes so I could, when I poured the resin would not flow all over inside the hole.
Okay.
And it was pretty easy. I mean, it wasn't the hardest thing in the world.
So you put styrene on the inside of the hole.
You got it, like little styrene, reservoirs, if you will.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I used for the water. I think it's called Easy Pour. Got it at Hobby Lobby. It's a 2-part resin epoxy, if you will. It's interesting in that it's really easy to work with, right? I was very intimidated at first, but you mix it up and to color it, you literally put a tiny speck of paint.
Oh, really?
I used Tamiya, just regular Tamiya, black green, I think, but literally a tiny speck will color it. And I went from darker to lighter. I did several pours.
Okay.
And then to take the air bubbles out, which I think I got 99% of them, you spray it with alcohol and it just pops all the little bubbles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you could add like variations to the, I didn't realize that's how you did that with water, with the colors and variations of depth and stuff. That's fascinating. That's a beautiful piece. And
Thank you.
I think the other thing you did here, going back to the Lindenberg kit, is it does make a great base because of how sparse you made it, so you didn't have to rely on all those details.
Yeah, and I guess at 1/60th scale, I might have been able to like grab a few 1/48th tires and things, but at the end of the day, I was like, you know what, this thing is sitting here for a while.
Yeah,
and anything of any value is not going to be on it, and it anything has been washed away in a storm or something like that. So that's kind of how I justify the
yeah. And again, the detail you put in, just noticing, all the debris that's gathered in these areas that you've done on the inside of the ship, like, little bunches of leaves and stuff. And
that was
awesome.
Really, well, it's kind of funny you say that, because the final thing I did, right? And that was done, a lot of stuff was done with just like tapping a brush full of pigments, debris would form down here, right? Because it's on a slant. But it was funny because as I was doing it, the hurricane was coming to Houston. So it was
Okay.
I finished it up. Believe it or not, I finished this up to bring to Nationals with just natural light because I didn't have electricity because of the hurricane. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
That's awesome.
What a way to finish a hurricane wrecked boat by being in a hurricane yourself.
And I will say the other detail here is something that you feel like you really captured the atmosphere, because just looking at this piece, you already kind of in your mind know that feeling of that hot, swampy, humid environment. So that other level of environment that you pulled off is I think very noticeable. So I think that adds a whole nother part to the piece.
Thank you, man.
That's some really great work.
Hey, I just also want to shout out my friend Hugo. Hugo over there, and Hugo, I'm sorry, man, I don't know your last name, but we're friends from the Texas region. Hugo's got the septic truck, and Hugo did the big shrimp wreck boat last year. He does stuff like this, and he's been an inspiration to me, man. So I want to shout out to Hugo that, hey, thanks a lot for inspiring me to take on something silly like this.
Right on. All right, thank you, Brandon. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Guys, I'm here with Scott Wadico from the IPMS Gateway chapter in St. Louis. Scott, what'd you bring to Nationals this year?
Today I got Saint Chamond in 1/35th scale, little dio here with some French infantry from ICM, and I basically built the trench from wooden scraps and stuff like that. But the sandbags are from Value Gear. The gear on top of the tank is from Value Gear and ICM. It was a lot of fun. It was my first World War One kit, my first World War One diorama. I'm gonna definitely do another one. But
That's impressive.
Lots of fun there.
Yeah, especially since All Quiet on the Western Front came out, and there's that scene with the French tanks. So.
Exactly, that's what inspired me. As I saw that movie, I'm like, that is a really cool tank. So I found this is the Hobby Boss kit, and then the ICM had a whole line of World War One figures. So I bought some French, and definitely, it won't be my last. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I've talked to some other people about their bases and dioramas. Is like when you can capture the atmosphere, and I think the way your ground effects look and everything is like you can kind of feel that environment just by looking at it.
Yeah, I didn't want to make it too gruesome or something with body parts like a lot of people do. Just something that's pretty innocuous.
Yeah, man, that is some fantastic work.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Scott. And,
Thank you.
Hope you do well this weekend.
I hope. I'm not here to win anything, but it's definitely the camaraderie and just seeing all the wonderful models is definitely, since this is my first IPMS Nationals, I'm really enjoying the
mine too.
Overall effect of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. All right, guys, I'm here with Elliot Kaser. He came in from Michigan. Elliot, what'd you bring to Nats this year?
I got a couple, but my prized possession is my P39 here, the Edward Boxing. Not a bad kit. It was supposed to be just a get back on the saddle build that morphed into a lot of scratch building and a not so simple build, but
it looks beautiful.
Appreciate it.
And I love the weathering, the exhaust streaks. I love that. Is that technically coral pink? Is that what that color is?
Yeah, there's not a ton of information on these particular P39s because they spent a short time over in the Canton Atolls. But from what I've read, that they were OD green with the natural gray, and then they just, once they got over to the island, put they called it sand to the best of their knowledge, with some sort of blue. I'm not really 100% on what the technical name for the blue would be, but yeah, they were like that for, I believe, a little under a year, and then they went back to the mainlands, and then they repainted them OD over natural gray.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's just something different. You don't see a lot of them in the coral scheme.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And what scratch building did you do?
So it's going to be a little hard to see, but I just added a bunch of linkages and some extra control panels in the cockpit. I did an O2 regulator on the other side, O2 hose. Added a couple little details in the wheel well that were missing on the original kit. Normal brake lines, but
Yeah.
just went a little above what I was planning on doing.
Well, it always starts out that way. You go, oh, I'm going to build a kit just to get back into it.
Yeah.
Once the ball starts rolling, you cannot stop it.
You never can just leave them be.
And how'd you achieve this base? I really like this base.
I actually just kind of slapped this thing together before our last local show, but it was just a piece of foam, and I did some of the AK diorama as a base, and then I sprinkled some of that train airgate you can buy, and then just a little bit of AK seagrass glued on, and that's about it, really.
Wow. Yeah, I like it. And it's simple. It gets the point across. I saw this at our show, Roscoe Turner show. So you didn't have this base, I believe. So I really like that. That really grounds it in some reality there. I really like that.
It gives it a little extra pop, I think.
Absolutely. Well, Elliot, thank you so much for showing off your model.
Yeah, thanks, Austin.
Good luck at the show, and don't spend too much money.
Yeah, try not to.
Okay, guys, I'm here with Dave Goldfinch from On the Bench podcast. Dave, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Austin. Really good.
Good. And what'd you bring to Nats this year?
Well, all the way from Melbourne, Australia, is this beautiful 72nd scale Hawk from Space 1999.
That's gorgeous. I guess everybody wants to know how well did it travel.
Well, you can see it traveled really well. I had no problems whatsoever.
Yeah.
Despite flying through 3 different countries,
Yeah.
it arrived in one piece. So I was really, really happy about that.
That's gorgeous. And what kit is that?
It's MPC kit, 172nd scale. And MPC also do it in 48 scale as well.
Okay. And those markings, is that, because I'm not familiar with Space 99, is that accurate markings? What'd you do to it?
Yep, 100% accurate markings. There, most of those markings are decals, believe it or not, that have had to be sort of laid down. And because you've got the framework on top, you've got to sort of plan how you're doing it.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It's almost like building a ship in some respects. You really got to sort of plan how you do it and just do it in bits and pieces.
Yeah, that is awesome, man.
Thank you.
Dave, thanks for showing off your model.
No worries.
Thanks for coming all the way over to America to hang out with us.
No problem. It's been a lot of fun. And you know, the guys here really know how to put on a good show.
Yeah.
And it's been really fantastic catching up with everybody and the likes of yourself, Austin, as well.
Thank you, man.
And yeah, I can't wait to get back here again.
Oh, I know. And maybe all 3 of you.
Well, we'll see about those 2 other lazy buggers, but you never know.
Well, okay, maybe Ian. I'm not putting a lot of money on Julian.
Well, you never know with Julian, yeah.
For
Julian's his marches the beat of his own drum.
He sure does.
He does.
There's something I appreciate about that. All right, thank you, Dave.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
My guys, I'm here with Matthew Johnston. He's from KC Amps. Matt, what'd you bring to Nationals this year?
Yes, I brought the Sherman Barv, made specifically for the Normandy landings. It's the Asuka Sherman 3 kit with the Resicast Sherman BARV conversion set.
That's awesome. And what was the purpose of this Sherman?
Specifically, we did it for the Operation Overlord group build with the Model Geeks and the Plastic Posse podcast.
Yeah.
One thing I like to point out, so it didn't have this apparatus in the kit, and the actual thing had it, and I didn't know what it was, and did research, looked at the Remy Museum, emailed Bovington, a couple other places, they didn't know. Eventually I found an article with someone who wrote up a actual review of the thing in like 44 saying yeah, this addition was great for recovering, and actually what it is the recoil mechanism from a 6-pounder that they used to recover things. So you could attach it to it, and basically the spring or the recoil would help when you pulled something out. It would help with that shock, so it wouldn't jerk things off and cause damage.
That's ingenious.
So I found that, and then actually emailed that back to a couple other museums to let them know, hey, I found what it was. So
Look at you researching for Bovington over here.
That's right. So that was the coolest thing about doing this kit, was finding that information.
And so this was a recovery vehicle?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Specifically for a lot of the beached vehicles, because of the traps and things prevented a lot of the tanks and vehicles from actually getting from the ocean up onto land, and so they use these to push and or pull vehicles that got trapped on the beach.
Okay.
And so that's mainly what the front bumper was for.
Yeah.
The other thing about it was so it can go up to, I believe, 9 feet in water, and there were five crewmen on board, and one of them actually was a certified diver, frogman. So because most of the attachment points on vehicles to be towed would be submerged. They actually did have a diver on board, which is pretty cool.
Wow, that's some great work, man. That's impressive. I like the subject. I like how unique it is, and that next little level of research you did there. I mean, you just gave the Sherman world a whole nother fact to play with.
Hopefully.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Matthew, and good luck this weekend. I hope you're having fun.
Yep, of course we are.
Thank you. Okay, guys, I'm here with Jeremy Moore from Lehigh Valley Scale Modelers,
right,
Eastern Pennsylvania. All right. Jeremy, what'd you bring to Nats this year?
So I have a Tamiya P47M or P47 mic that's done in the Semke's Wolfpack markings, 62nd Fighter Squadron.
Very nice.
Little different color scheme for a P47 with the camouflage, but it's something that kind of caught my eye. Nose art as well was kind of what drew me to building the airplane. It's the Tamiya P47 is an iconic kit, goes together very, very easily. So I focused on painting and finishing for this one. The national insignia, those are all painted using masks that I cut on a silhouette cutter, and then the rest of the markings are from Super Scale International.
Okay.
The nose art, the squadron codes, and the tail number.
Very cool.
Just let's see, ultracast wheels and an ultracast seat. That's the only aftermarket that I used, and I paint with all lacquers, Mr. Color lacquers, and then Tamiya for the natural metal finish on the leading edges.
Nice. And like I was telling you earlier, I love P47s. The M for the Tamiya is kind of hard to find.
It is. It's very hard to find lately.
And I was disappointed Mini Art wasn't here because I was going to grill them about where the P47 in coming?
Yes.
And is an M coming?
Yeah, we need both of those for sure.
Because somebody said something about there's like an 8-spoke wheel or something in the kit, and that hints at
that's for an N. Yeah. That would be the big giveaway. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing.
Absolutely.
And you got a seminar about natural metal finishes this weekend?
Correct. Tomorrow at 11:15. I'll be doing a seminar on painting and weathering natural metal finish for aircraft.
Awesome. I will definitely be there because I need that seminar. All right.
Cool.
Thank you,
there.
Jeremy.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Okay, guys, I'm here with Evan McCallum from Ottawa, Canada, aka Panzermeister 36. Evan, how you doing?
Good.
And what'd you bring to Nats this year?
I brought a couple of things, and I think my favorite subject I brought is my brand new Chinese ZBD-89, I'm calling it. It's a semi-fictional build I did based on a prototype that existed. Kind of struck my fancy because it was so odd. It's like a Chinese knockoff BMP-1.
Yeah.
And I found this really hideous Chinese naval camouflage that they used in the 90s, and it's all this blue, and it's kind of like what you see on a flanker nowadays. It was just such a fun weathering challenge, so I decided to pick the striking blue finish, and I had fun with it. I mean, you use the same techniques as you would on any other color. You just have to be able to, change the hues to match with the blue finish. So it's kind of an ugly duckling, and the camouflage matches it, but it was a great challenge. And I did a presentation on how I weathered it at the Nats here.
That's very cool. And
step by step.
And what kit was this?
It's a Hobby Boss base. And then the BMP turret is from Trumpeter, modified to match the Chinese Type 86 standard, I think.
That's really fun.
So not exactly a great kit, but it was a good learning experience. I got lots of experience filling and priming and doing a lot of conversion, which I hadn't done much of before.
And a good canvas for that experimental camo there.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, Evan, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, and I hope you have fun and do well at Nats.
Thank you. It's been a great time.
All right, guys, I am here with Michael, aka Hannibal Barca from YouTube, all the way from Germany. Michael, what'd you bring to Nats this year?
Oh, I brought two pieces. One of them is this here. It's my T60 as a captured version by the Germans on the Eastern Front. And what makes this interesting is it's basically replicating a photo I have of my granduncle.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's in front of here. So I try to replicate what I see in the photo. Yeah, and the other piece is an Italian tankette, also on the Eastern Front in the snow scenery.
Okay, very awesome. And what kit is this model based off of? Which brand did you use?
That's the mini art kit.
Okay.
And I just made a few alternations to it. I left the turret off, obviously, and added some German tools.
Yeah.
And yeah, made some adjustments to fit that figure in there.
Okay. And I love your grass and your grass and your little flower sprout in there. So
thank you.
Yeah, I really love that base. Awesome.
It's a simple base.
Yeah.
But you need something for the model to be attached to, and yeah, it just sits there in its natural habitat.
Of course. Very cool. Well, Michael, thank you for sharing with us, and thank you for coming all the way to Germany to enjoy Nats with us this year.
Oh, thank you for interviewing me, and I have a great time here.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, everybody, I'm here with Whitey from Model Geeks Podcast. Whitey, what'd you bring to Nats this year?
Hey, how you doing? Well, my main thing that I wanted to get done for the show was the D-Day display with the C-47 downstairs. So that was my priority, getting finished for the show here. But along with that, since we drove out here, we had a Frildo's truck to pack up. I decided to bring my collection of Desert Storm aircraft that I intended to bring to the Nats last year out there in San Marcos. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend that one. So for the 30th anniversary of Desert Storm, I decided for that year to build Desert Storm aircraft only, and that's so this is about it probably took me about 10 months worth of work to get these all completed in that year time frame. So starting over here, this is the Eduard boxing of the Revell Tornado GR1.
Okay.
And that, out of all the kits sitting out here, was probably the most difficult one to build. But I wanted to get a nice, dirty GR1. So that was the Eduard boxing was great because everything you need is in there. I used their interior photo etch. I used their resin seat, the resin wheels. The only thing I did add that wasn't Eduard was if you're familiar with the Tornado kit, the main landing wheel gear well has zero detail in there. So I added some ribbing and things like that in there just to kind of dress it up some.
And what was, just real quick, what was difficult about the kit being Rebel plastic?
A lot of cleanup. Revell plastic, is it's a little bit soft in places, but it was really the cleanup, particularly with like the slat and the spoiler areas.
Okay.
Have a lot of small actuators in there, as well as the flap assembly. So there's just a lot of cleanup. And for a kit that I guess was first released in 2014, it was more like a 1992 kit.
Yeah.
It wasn't as and then there's a little bit of fit issues with the intake area. I didn't like how that fit. But obviously, you can build it into a.
You definitely did an awesome job, and that's.
Well, thanks.
I think that's one of the things I love tornadoes, and one of the things is the Desert Storm tornadoes and just how gnarly they got, and the nose art, which I love. They always had great nose art. Yeah. Real quick, have you ever seen the picture of the guy painting on nose art with Tamiya paint?
Oh yeah. That's a famous one out there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And
this is the Monograms AH1F kit. Trying to remember what I added to this thing. I think it's pretty much out of the box. I did open up some of the screened area back here and use some photo etch screen to fill that. But I opened up the gunner's entry hatch on the side here.
Yeah.
And a master barrels.
Okay.
For the gunner.
Master Club.
What is that company that makes the Peter tubes and stuff?
Oh, it's
Master Model, maybe.
It's blanking.
Yeah, same. Anyway, it's a brass gun because the kit one looks decent enough, but the cleanup on it would take forever. So treat yourself if you build one of these and buy the brass gun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It just looks the part a lot better.
Yeah, I love the Cobra. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I always I typically like to put some figures with my stuff, just to kind of give a sense of scale. So that the figures, I believe, they're actually Vietnam era guys. You know, so if you got in there and really look close at the flight gear,
yeah,
you know, Floyd Warner, if you're listening, he flew these things in Desert Storm. So, but I wanted to, I wanted a couple crewmen out there, debriefing or getting ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice that the canopy frame has the green paint.
Yeah.
And that's all just looking at reference photos.
Yeah,
from these things, and most of them were pretty dirty and gnarly. So I chipped it up, I dirtied it up. Well, one thing I did do is the right here forward on the doghouse there's an IR sensor up there, an infrared sensor up there, and typically it's covered. And again, going straight to the source, I recall emailing Floyd Warner about that. I said, hey, what is that thing up there? And he's like, oh, it's an IR sensor. He's like, it's a clear lens, but typically it was covered to protect it. So in the kit, it just comes as a solid, piece of plastic. Okay. It's covered, but I wanted to open it up, so I cut it and fashioned what I imagine an IR sensor looks like, because there was like no pictures out there.
Yeah.
And then put a clear lens optic over it. Tammy's F-117.
Yeah.
I tell people, if you're going to build an F-117, that's the kit to get. It's just simple assembly. Top and bottom halves, boom, and then you're pretty much done with it, right?
Yeah.
For me, the time-consuming part was the cockpit. I put a black box cockpit in there because it has that's the only one out there with the cockpit configuration of a Desert Storm era F-117.
Okay.
Most of the other aftermarket cockpits have the later configuration with, I think there's an extra CRT screen in there or something like that.
All right.
And then also, one drawback about the Tammy kit is that the F-117 has some pretty heavy framing on the interior of the canopy, and I believe that was in the black box kit as well. They give you the framing to dress that interior of the canopy up. And then the pilot figure is a PJ's production pilot figure. Those guys make really, unfortunately, I guess they're out of business. So if you can find PJ Productions pilot figures while you're rummaging through the boxes in the vendor area, grab them.
Yeah. Do you have any tips on how to painting aircraft black?
All right. Yeah. Thanks. I'm trying to. I don't think I definitely didn't use any flat black on this thing at all. I think the base coat was NATO black.
Yeah.
And then I lightened it slightly with some lighter gray in areas so that it doesn't just look like a black spot. You know? I actually, I don't know about the lighting in here, right? But just standing here looking at it, I go, I probably could have gone lighter in a lot of other areas.
Yeah.
But they, obviously these things are pretty well maintained, even if they are in a desert environment at the time.
Oh yeah.
They were operating off a brand new air base over there in Saudi Arabia, and stored in hardened shelters.
Probably one of your most expensive pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
So
so they were very well maintained. So that the undersides had some streaking and things like that, like any other aircraft. This one's just the Hasegawa Desert Storm boxing of the AV-8B. For whatever reason, they've only released this thing once in that boxing, and so they're relatively hard kit to find.
Yeah.
The cluster bombs, I took those out of a Hobby Boss A10 kit.
Okay.
Again, going off reference photos, there was a lot of photos of these things with that loadout right there. With the gun pack and the cluster bombs. Yeah, this is the Eschi or Italeri boxing of the S3A Viking that I used a phase hanger set to do a B conversion. Now I didn't use the entire set because this is an early model B that still retains the Sonoblue chutes on the underside, and it doesn't have all the antenna upgrades yet that the later Bs had. Super scale decal sheet. The scheme itself is why I wanted to build this thing. First of all, I had a friend of mine who was in the squadron at the time, and over there on board the Kennedy with these guys.
Yeah.
And I believe he was. I put his name on the nose landing gear door here. because he was a plane captain in the squadron. Whether or not that was his aircraft, I don't know. But use a little artistic license there. But what I like about this is it's got that gold, gray, and white scheme that we're most of us familiar with, but then with the toned down markings and the tactical gray engine nacelles. You know, because that was that the early 90s was that whole transition period. So you see a lot of cool schemes out there in the fleet at that time, you know, from full on tactical gray to a mix like this thing, and then the KA-6Ds at the time were still keeping the glossy paint schemes.
Okay.
So that was another one I wanted to get done for this collection, but I didn't get there. The wing fold is the old Paragon set.
Okay.
So if anyone's ever built that, you know, that requires you cutting a chunk of wing out here on both sides and then mounting the resin and blending it all together.
Okay.
Really pretty work intensive there. Wolfpack makes a wing fold set that gives you the whole wing, and that's the way to go if I was ever going to do another one with the folded wing.
Yeah, like the whole wing folded?
Yeah.
Okay. I do have this kit. Is it worth keeping and putting effort into?
Well, it's the only S3 and 48 scale,
yeah, that's
so
true.
there's that.
And then can we, what's the map you got here? Can we get this shot of this reference you got?
That's something that would be in your flight pack for your different routes and areas from the Gulf area.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a nice touch to the base there.
Yeah.
Really, what are the markings on the side here?
Okay, so this is kind of funny. So talking to some S3 guys that I knew at the time. So the Kennedy was operating not in the Persian Gulf itself. It was in the Red Sea covering, mainly doing tanker missions. That's why I got the buddy pack on there. So the VS-22 was operating over there. They weren't actively participating in dropping bombs or anything like that. But the skipper at the time, again, according to what I've been told from S3 guys, just the fact that he was supporting strike packages, he wanted to have markings because everyone else was doing it. So he's like, hey man, I want markings. I want kill markings on
I'm getting my stickers too, pal.
So that's where that comes from. Because I was.
That's awesome.
You know, I knew they were operating out of the Red Sea and covering that area, and so when I asked this friend of mine who was an S3 bubber at the time, I was like, you know, so were they flying clear across Saudi and then executing missions and things? And, you know, he's like, oh no, man, they were just up there tanking, which was the majority of S3 work at the time. Now, there was one particular S3 that did take out a boat in the Persian Gulf, dropped some bombs on it. In his excitement, the taco actually pickled off the buddy pod too.
Okay.
So whoever those Iraqi guys on the boat got the whole kit and caboodle. They got bombs, they got the fuel tank.
That's hilarious.
They got the buddy pack and everything else, man.
That's awesome.
You can imagine the look on their face seeing a buddy pod hurtling at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that is an awesome collection, Whitey. Thanks for sharing it with you, man. And
all right.
Good to meet you.
You too.
All right, guys, I'm here with a special guest, Chad Richmond, and we've met Floyd Werner from Werner's Wings. And Floyd has built a Cobra that I believe Chad actually flew. Is that right,
yes,
Chad?
Yes, sir. That was part of 2nd Platoon, Air Troop 2nd Armored Cav, in probably about 77, 78 time frame.
Wow.
Probably 78 time frame.
It's actually the last aircraft in his logbook. It's a Q model.
This is the really cool. Last aircraft that I flew as far as Q model goes.
And he went on to fly the Mod S.
Yes.
And how long were you a Cobra driver?
Well,
we're still Cobra drivers.
Oh yeah, okay. I guess
once a Cobra driver,
right.
Kind of like Marines.
Understood.
You know? I flew Cobras from 76 to 78 in 2nd ACR, and then 78 to 81 in the 101st, and that's really the only time that I flew them in the unit. I ended up being an instructor pilot when I was at the 101st, which was kind of unusual for a commissioned officer. Very unusual, as a matter of fact.
All right. You two met through...
Well, we met through the hobby.
Yeah, because we met through the hobby, and then we realized that we flew Cobras. And it's a small community, and we've just been running back and forth each other.
We had a lot of mutual friends, and when Floyd got ready to cut a decal sheet on Cobras, I said, I just happen to have some pictures here that might help you.
That's amazing.
So whenever
Yeah.
I do my decals, I try to make it something, at least one of them, somebody I know or somebody I've read like a book or something like that, just because it has a personal meaning to me. That's why I wanted to build Chad's aircraft.
Yeah, just know you have that reference right there ready to go. That's
Between
awesome.
him and John Cooney, they both sent me pictures.
John Cooney, and he was in my platoon, and we both flew that aircraft. In fact, I think the picture that John sent was probably his last flight in the aircraft, or close to it.
That's what I love about this hobby is you guys connected through that, and then you were able to produce accurate depictions of the aircraft that you and your friends flew, and to have that thread running through the hobby just makes it even more special than
we've
what it already
also
is.
collected on, or connected on finding out that we had a lot of mutual friends.
Yeah, again, a small community.
Yeah,
it is a very small community.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Chad. I appreciate your time.
Well, you're welcome. It's been a
someday I hope to get him flying in the Army Aviation Heritage Foundation.
Yeah. Hey, maybe.
Put him in
Would
the
you
front
do it
seat.
again?
Oh, I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Of course.
In a heartbeat.
That's awesome.
It's the most fun you can have with your pants on.
That's right.
Well, I mean, if I can do it, I would do it. So
You can do it.
well, let's hook that up because I love the Cobra.
You come down to Georgia, down to Hampton, Georgia.
Okay.
And we arrange Cobra rides, front seat Cobra rides.
Okay.
$800 for about 15 minutes.
How much?
$800.
$800. Okay.
When you come out of that helicopter, you'll have a smile on your face.
Yes, you'd be grinning.
Yeah, that's
Ear
worth
to ear
it.
to
That's
ear.
worth it. Okay, we're gonna make that happen. Sweet. Well,
Or we'll be at Port Clinton in the next month, giving rides as well.
I just spent $800 at this hobby show, Floyd. We're gonna have to plan this out a little bit, okay? No, awesome. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate
Well, you're
your
welcome.
time and sharing your stories with us.
Thank you for your interest.
Thank you.
I like you hanging at me now or something.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, cool.